Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. I'm Raffi, joined by Davian. Davian, another week of the NFL season has gone by. Another week of the college football season has gone by, which gives us a lot to talk about on this week's show. We've seen a lot of teams in the college football rankings drop quite a bit. We've seen Notre Dame lose again. They started the season 0-2. You'd love to see it. And then on the NFL side, we've seen a couple teams that are... It's a little surprising to see them at 0-2, see the Kansas City Chiefs. Some teams are 2-0, but could potentially be cooked. So we'll talk about some of those teams as well on this podcast. But as always, before we get into the contents of the video, as is customary on this podcast, as we do every day on this program, every day, I say that like this is a daily podcast. It's really just a weekly podcast. Davian,
It could be.
how are you? How are things? Patriots, big win last weekend. Obviously was a pretty big weekend for both teams, and Patriots came out ahead.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the Patriots' performance. Look, kudos to your Falcons. They also, put up one hell of a
We
performance
have a pass
against
rush,
the Ravens.
Davian. Sorry,
You
I don't
do.
want to take this away from you. I just handed it to you to ask you how you're doing, but oh my
Uh,
gosh, 6 sacks
yeah,
from the Atlanta Falcons. That's absolutely ridiculous. 4 turnovers. Guys, the first 4 picks of the Falcons, those 2 safeties, Watts, I'm blanking on the other guy's name, Bowman, I believe, and then you had Pierce and Walker. Hit, 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 hit. I know we're 2 weeks in, and that was versus a rookie quarterback, but hey, that was a defensive masterclass for the Falcons. I don't remember the last time the Falcons looked that competent defensively. I genuinely cannot tell you. That was chef's kiss. Beautiful defense by the Falcons on Sunday. I normally like week one, I'm just dreading. Okay, like how are they gonna find a way to blow this game? I didn't feel that at all during this game versus the Vikings after the 6 sack. I'm like, okay, this Falcons pass rush is doing a great job. Clearly, they're in J.J. McCarthy's head. Clearly, he's hurt, which he actually did wind up being hurt. We found out after the game. I feel really good about the Falcons. There's no way that they could possibly blow this. And Davian, as a Patriots fan, you'd say, well, actually,
clip
and I'd
that,
say, be quiet, Davian.
clip
Be
it,
quiet.
clip
We
that.
don't talk about it. But, yeah, I was very happy with the Falcons. They finally seem to have a solid pass rush. And I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but at least I
Yeah.
can kind of see them as a playoff team now.
Look, even Kyle Pitts has been stepping up a bit. I think that, a quick comment on the Falcons. I think that they've been playing very well. I think the Vikings have clearly been struggling. J.J. McCarthy did not get into a rhythm with his offense, and sadly went down with an injury, so we won't be able to see, whether he was going to get into rhythm and whether he is that franchise QB answer. Because, we really did not see that sophomore year step up after last year. Any case, though, I do want to comment on the Patriots. I think that was a beautiful win, and it came down to maybe we don't have Drake May throwing over 40 times. And maybe then, if you use the run game, you're able to actually succeed. And if you use Ramondre Stevenson, one of the best running backs, or I would say a top 15 running back in the
Above
NFL right
average
now,
running back. Above average running back, I'd say.
above
Like
average
slightly
running back,
above.
maybe you could do good. Look, the defense is great, and this was again without Christian Gonzalez, and I think that's huge, right? I think once Gonzalez is back, you're going to see a huge step up. You're going to see basically a leadership, team captain presence almost level. So I really am excited to see Gonzalez back on the field, hopefully sometime soon. This Patriots team, it was a good win. Yes, this was a Dolphins team that got schmacked by the Colts, but we'll get into that too. But the Colts are clearly no joke. But besides that, Rafi, I've been doing very well. Just glad to be back on this show with you, of course, and another week of college football. We talked about the Texas A&M game. I was actually at a bar watching that game with a bunch of Cornell students who were also cheering for Texas A&M because everyone hates Notre Dame, as they should. But in any case, Rafi, how have you been personally?
I've been great. I had a great day today. I went to the Blackhawks 100th year anniversary celebration that they had at Union Station. Essentially Union Station. I feel like New York City has a Union Station too type of thing with all the trains, like the Central Station. And Connor Bedard was there. I got a photo with Connor Bedard. I got an autographed card from Connor Bedard. I saw a couple other Blackhawks players. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get their signed cards. And then in the afternoon, I got Chris Chelios and and also Dennis Savard as well. So got to meet both of them, get signed cards from them too. So overall, it was a great day for me. Was worth the 50-minute commute, which is much longer than my typical 10-minute commute to the closest office where I work. So it was a great day for me. Going back to the Falcons, though, before we just move on from the Falcons and our two teams talk, I do want to say Christian Darrisaw is still hurt for the Vikings. So obviously when you're down your top offensive lineman, that's going to hurt. Also, Aaron Jones is now out for a couple of weeks with a hamstring injury. So right now it seems like the Vikings offense is a little dysfunctional. J.J. McCarthy seems like a guy that if you give him time and if you put a solid team around him, like we saw in week 1, he's a good game manager. He might struggle a little bit at the start, but we saw what he's capable of and how he won that game for the Bears. And I don't think he's going to be a guy that consistently will win games on his own and will his team to victory. But I do think that if the right pieces are around him, if there's a healthy and solid offensive line in front of him, if there's a solid complementary run game with him, then I think that overall J.J. McCarthy will thrive a little bit more. The big thing obviously was the ankle injury too, which we found out about after the game. So I wouldn't really sell J.J. McCarthy at this point in time. I think we should understand that he's a rookie quarterback essentially this year, which is he didn't play at all last year. So this is technically his rookie year, at least in my mind. So I'm cautious to say anything about J.J. McCarthy. I know you're not saying he's a bust or anything like that, but I do think that once the offensive line gets healthier, once Aaron Jones comes back and Jordan Mason is going to be really solid running back in the meantime. We saw last year how he stepped in really well with McCaffrey being out for all of last year essentially. So I expect the Vikings to still be a playoff team. I still expect J.J. McCarthy to get better as the season goes along. It just so happened that the Falcons magically figured out how to get a pass rush, and that obviously was a big thing for them beating the Minnesota Vikings and really just chasing around J.J. McCarthy because the Bears defense doesn't do that. You know what else the Bears defense doesn't do, Davian? Perfect transition. Stop the Lions as well. 21-7, 21-14. And the game just completely just went off the rails for the Bears, losing 52-21. And I get how the first half ended. There was a couple calls that led to Amon-Ra St. Brown's touchdown with 6 seconds left at the end of the first half. And a lot of people were pointing at, okay, that was a big turning point. But you're rolling down 2 touchdowns still. Rome Odunze actually was having a really solid game up to that point and overall had a solid game. Caleb Williams looked a lot better than he did versus the Vikings the week before. But Davian, Jalen Johnson being out right now is a nail in the coffin for the Bears. They could not stop Jamison Williams or Amon-Ra St. Brown for the life of them, and the Bears just got completely run out of Ford Field this past weekend. That defense is a big red flag for me right now.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think there was just something clearly personal in this game for the Lions, especially at the end of the game when you're running up the score like that. Yes, I get it's Dan Campbell and it's his kind of motto and mojo where it's like you played such a bad game the week before, you really need to go all out this week. But I think that was just unsportsmanlike at the end of the game. I think it was stupid as well. I would, with so many injuries happening across the league, to risk your starters like that, I think was stupid. And to try and run up the score. Of course, all sides are saying it wasn't personal because, that shouldn't be. If it was, it just would be kind of foolish and not reflective of the NFL, I think, in many ways, and very disrespectful. But, yeah, I mean, I will say, my Bears, I did predict a lot for the Bears, and it's not happening just yet. But, like you did say, Caleb Williams does look really good. Romeo Dunze looks very good. Looks also very good on my fantasy football team as well. So, I think give it time, and, I think that this Bears team will start to click, especially, as you mentioned, those players who are injured come back, if they come back. Moving on, though, another team that...
two things real quick. I have 2 things real quick on the Bears. First off, if you don't like having the score run up on you, do something about it. You can stop them. Do something about it. Yeah, you could. I know there's the risk, obviously, if you're the team who's running it up. I
agree. The Bears played bad. But it's just like, I just feel from the line side, it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, they're one injury away from what was the purpose. You were up by 30 points. Yeah. Why are you trying to score again? But again, if you don't like it, then you just have to stop it. Also, my other big gripe that I had to just air this out. What was the point of drafting Colson Loveland at 10 and Luther Burden the third, I believe it's the third, in the second round if you're not going to use them? Oh my gosh, one target for Colson Loveland and Burden getting like I think 20% of the snaps. What are we doing? That makes no sense to spend.
Like they drafted to work under a tight end offense, and they're just not. They're just not in any way.
It makes no sense. We all thought, including myself, because I drafted Colson Loveland in one of my fantasy leagues, that he was going to be, and he wasn't at the upside of a Sam Laporta, but it was like, okay, this is like your Sam Laporta light in the Ben Johnson offense, and it's, what are we doing? DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, both of them have been, we've heard stuff about DJ Moore the past couple, I wouldn't be shocked if DJ Moore is off the team by the end of the year, if not right after the season ends. DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, just get rid of them. You have youth and young players that you just spent high-end picks on. Use them, or at least try to get them involved in the offense. Burden is a competent third wide receiver on your team right now. And Colson Loveland, I love Cole Kmet, but Loveland has a much higher ceiling, and he's 21 years old. He can fit right in, and if he doesn't play well, if either of them doesn't play well, then you can decrease the snap count. But if you're just, you can't be spending those high caliber draft picks and just say, oh, well, we're just not going to use them at all. Then it makes no sense to me. Sorry, I had to at least say those two things because that second point about those two guys and wasting premium, I mean, not wasting because they'll still be good at some point, all likelihood, but to draft those guys as highly as you did for the whole offseason be, okay, now we're really going to, this offense is going to the next level because of these players, to not use them last week versus a team that was in a shootout, not literal shootout, offensive shootout between Chicago and Detroit. It made no sense to me. You need to get these guys involved, and if they don't play well, then you decrease the snap count. But at least try to give them a chance to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that, you know, if you're not giving the rookies a chance to play, it's going to bite you in the back in the future. And I just agree with that. Switching on and moving on to a different game, seeing a young player take a step up was Bryce Young, I thought. His stat line was 35 for 55 for over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I thought he played amazing, but the Cardinals' defense is scary. Raffi, I watched this defense on the last drive, and yes, there were just penalties that kept the Panthers alive, but man, is that D-line dangerous. The pressure that they put on Young was next level. Now, granted, this Panthers offensive line continues to suck and continues to not let Bryce Young really kind of, fit in to his full extent. There's no run game on that Panthers team. I mean, you're telling me Chuba Hubbard's only running 38 yards? That's not going to win you any game. It's impossible, especially with a young quarterback. You need a good running core until the quarterback is able to get settled, and they clearly do not have that. I will say, though, the Cardinals' offense didn't look amazing. I mean, yes, they clutched up at the end, but Kyler Murray, for who he is and what he is not putting up spectacular numbers at all. And how many years have we waited and said, like, oh, next year's his year? This is a Cardinals team that only gave Josh Rosen 1 year. How many years are they going to give Kyler Murray before they look to potentially move on? I mean, look, he had 220 yards passing for 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Are those good stats? Sure. Are they amazing? Absolutely not.
I think the problem with the Cardinals and the Kyler Murray is there's just there's flashes of this offense. It's kind of like the Jaguars. There's flashes of the offense where it's like this team, wow, if this offense gets it together, they're going to be really, really good. And then the offense proceeds to just not get going at all, and you're just stuck in this infinite loop of thinking that we're back and we're just not back, and it just keeps going around and around again. I think Kyler Murray has top 15 quarterback talent. He's shown, especially early in his career, before he was dealing with a couple injury-riddled seasons, that he is capable of being a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Has he been that the past couple of years? Not really. I think he's more around that 15 middle of the pack range. But I don't know. Maybe things will get going at some point. I do think the Cardinals at some point need to take a deep, hard look and wonder if Kyler Murray's the guy. But I think you can do a lot worse than Kyler Murray at quarterback. I think Kyler Murray is a quarterback on a team that's probably going to be in middle of the pack. I think the upside is a little capped with them, but we'll see what winds up happening. Going to a quarterback who also is in a little bit of turmoil right now, we'll go with Joe Burrow, who is now out for 3 months due to turf toe. And, Davian, man, if only the Bengals had a way to protect their star top 5 quarterback in the NFL instead of just letting all the pass rushers just run right at him. If only there was a way, like a barrier or some players that could be in front of him that could potentially dissuade the defensive players from tackling him every single play. But I can't even think of what we would call that at all. Probably like, it would be the offense, and then it would kind of be like a wall or a line potentially, like an offensive line potentially. I don't know if that might be a foreign concept to people in Ohio and Cincinnati, but they're 2-0. But the way that the rest of their schedule looks for the next 3 months, I don't know if they're going to be in the playoff mix by the time he gets back, or if they are, they're gonna be on the wrong side of things, and the math is not going to be in their favor by the time he gets back. Jake Browning's looked good in some appearances, but he still threw 3 picks in essentially a half this past weekend, and I'm not trusting Jake Browning to beat some of the teams that are upcoming on the schedule for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, and I think there's also something to be said that Trevor Lawrence and co cannot beat a Jake Browning-led Bengals team. But I just don't get it. It just feels so weird, Raffi, because this is a Bengals team that, 4 seasons ago was in the Super Bowl, right? What was it, 2021, 2022? Right. Yeah. So they're not like that far removed, and I feel like they've really just digressed, especially the offensive line. Losing Joe Mixon was, definitely tough, especially because he was such a key part of that offense.
But Chase Brown's been great. Chase Brown looked really good last year when Zach Moss went out for the year. So, Chase Brown was great.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been, it's odd to see. I hope that they really beef up their offensive line, especially before Joe Burrow comes back. Luckily, I haven't heard of turf toe being that serious of a kind of a career-changing injury. Like, I don't think it really changes how somebody plays. It might maybe Burrow won't be able to scramble as much when he gets back, but I'm hoping that he gets back sooner rather than later within those 3 months, and maybe the Bengals will have a fighting chance for the wild card. But even then, I mean, being in the AFC North is just tough. Like, there's so many good teams there now.
The thing is, this really felt like an all-in year for the Bengals, giving Trey Hendrickson a pay raise without giving him any more term on his contract that's expiring. And at this point, you've essentially, with Joe Burrow being out for 3 months, you essentially have taken yourself out of that all-in. And we're looking at a Bengals team that entering next year is probably not going to even have Trey Hendrickson. And then that defense is essentially just a bunch of guys, some potential, and that's really it. There's no solidified guys. So I'm pretty concerned about the Bengals right now with just the fact that Joe Burrow is going to be out. Can Jake Browning step up? Maybe the Bengals could use a guy like Kirk Cousins, maybe. No, there's no way that anyone's taking Kirk Cousins' contract. But anyways, we'll see what happens with the Bengals, because that's certainly going to be something to keep tabs on. And if the Bengals are only at 5 or 6 wins, like 5 or 6 wins, I don't know if they're going to put Joe Burrow back out there, especially if there's 3 weeks left and it looks like they're kind of out of the playoff mix. It might just be best you punt on the year, go to next year, potentially draft some offensive line help, potentially, just an idea, and hope that you can somehow decide to convince Trey Hendrickson to put all the beef over the past year to the side and sign an extension with them. But who knows if Bengals ownership would want to do that in the first place.
Yeah.
One other AFC team that I want your thoughts on is the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost to the Eagles. They're now 0-2. Now, they did lose to 2 really good teams, being the Chargers in Week 1 and the Eagles in Week 2. And a lot of people, including myself, can make the argument of, well, their top 2 wide receivers, Rashee Rice, is out for, I believe, 6 weeks, and why are your teammates wearing free Rashee Rice shirts? He got into a 6-person car crash. Thankfully, no one got severely injured or killed. You should be really thankful about that. Why are you guys saying, oh, like, free my boy, he did nothing wrong? He was driving over 100 miles per hour, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to rant about that. And then obviously he was worthy in week 1, and he's going to be out likely for another week or 2. So I get that your top 2
this week. He might be coming back this week,
potentially, yes.
Potentially. I mean,
regardless,
you're getting an injured Xavier Worthy. Like, you're not getting a full...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you essentially were without Worthy for most of week 1. You were without Worthy in week 2. So I get you're down your top 2 targets, top 2 wide receivers. That's always going to hinder you. You also look at Travis Kelce, a ball that should have been a touchdown, comes out of his hands, bounces weird, gets picked off by the Eagles, and returned all the way to midfield. Now, that was essentially a 7-point swing right there at the very least, because Travis Kelce just needs to catch the ball, and then they're at 17 points there. So that is a big reason why they wound up losing this game to the Eagles. But Davian, should we be concerned about the Chiefs? I personally still think that they're going to be in the playoffs. I think that the Chiefs right now are a team that's kind of like the Patriots when they're coming down the end of their dynasty, still winning a Super Bowl here and there, but we're a team that you really didn't worry too much about the Patriots during the regular season and what seed they'd be, and you're more like, whatever, it's still Tom Brady and the Patriots, whatever seed they have, let them get into the postseason, and then they'll cook. I feel like we're at that point now with the Chiefs where I'm not too concerned with them now. They'll still make the playoffs. They won't be the best team. They won't be the 1 seed or the 2 seed in all likelihood. They're probably not going to win their division this year, being down already 0-2. But they're still the Chiefs, and they'll still get their act together once the postseason starts.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I think Travis Kelce has been having some off games, but there also could be an argument made about Travis Kelce, whether he's just declining as a player, whether he's already past his prime. And I also think that this should reignite the debate about who's the best tight end. And if it does at the end of the day, because I know a lot of people started saying at one point, oh, Kelsey's better than Gronk, and it's just like nowhere near to be true. Gronk would never drop a ball like that, let's be honest. In any case, though, one thing I will say is that this Chiefs team does not really concern me. I think that this Eagles team is very good. They're bringing in the playbook from last year. They're continuing with it. I don't really see... I think this is a very good Eagles team, too. I think there's something to be said about that. And the Chargers are looking great, too. I just want to quickly comment that that Chargers team is looking good. Sure, Geno Smith did not look that great on Monday Night Football, throwing 3 interceptions, but Justin Herbert, it's clicking for him. That team, that offense, it looks absolutely great. So, yeah, I'm not really too concerned about the Chiefs. But, Rafi, I do have another AFC team I do want to talk about, and that's the Indianapolis Colts. And before, I get your opinion on this, Rafi, I just want to say that for a while, I thought that this Colts team, well, basically all last week, I thought, and heading into this week, that last week was a fluke. That, yeah, Daniel Jones had one good game. It's not going to continue. But this is the second game in a row, Rafi. And he still looked very, very good. So, Rafi, what are your thoughts? Are the Colts legit? Question mark? Or is it too early to tell?
I think Tyler Warren is an excellent draft pick by the Colts. He's really been exactly what they needed at that tight end position that they've been lacking since, what was his name? Like Dallas Clark back in the early 2010s. I really do like that pickup. I think he's really taking that offense to another level, just providing a really solid option and a check down option and a safety net option for Daniel Jones. And honestly, O-line's been holding up pretty well. Defense has been making stops. Now, should the Colts have won that game versus the Broncos this past weekend? No. I think it's really dumb that touching a guy in the back without actually using him to vault up to try to block a field goal I don't think that's the intent of the rule. So I personally think that they should have lost that game. But can Daniel Jones keep things going to where the Colts are in the hunt for a playoff spot? I don't see why not. I think the Colts right now are at the same level as the Jaguars. I'd put them ahead of the Titans right now just on pure talent surrounding. Now, Cam Ward, I'd rather have Cam Ward on my team by far than Daniel Jones. But the pieces around Daniel Jones are so much better than the pieces around Cam Ward, and the defense on the Colts is so much better than the Titans. So I could see the Colts linger around a little bit longer than most people expect, especially because, again, you look at those two teams that I just mentioned, the AFC South. The Jaguars, we're seeing some issues between the offensive coordinator and C.J. Stroud, where C.J. Stroud seems to be stalling a little bit. Now, this could just be early in the season, but we did see it a little bit last year, too, when a lot of us were projecting him to cement himself as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So we'll see what happens with the Texans, but the Texans are starting to give me Jaguars of a couple years ago vibes, where they had that one year they were really good, and now it kind of feels like they've come back down to earth, and we don't really know what they are. So we'll see what happens with the Texans, and I don't want to go too crazy and say Colts are winning the division, but I do think that the Colts are going to be feistier than initially imagined. I believe I had them as a 5-win team. I wouldn't be shocked if they get a little higher than that, into the 6 to 8 win range, and just make some teams sweat it out and potentially pull off some upsets. We'll see, because Daniel Jones, as you mentioned, has done a good enough job to where there's no reason to even, like, who's Anthony Richardson? I don't even remember who that guy is at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how things develop and if things stay on track, but he's looking a lot like how he was when he got paid $1 billion by the Giants and they wound up making the playoffs and winning a playoff game versus the Vikings, where he wasn't losing the team games and he was doing a good enough job where, again, he wasn't losing games, but he was doing enough to win the game or at least keep the Colts in it, which obviously was the big reason why they beat the Broncos this past weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Raffi, let's look at the math of it, right? They play the Titans twice, right? They play the Jaguars twice. They already have 2 wins. If that's at least almost 3. I feel like they could easily beat the Titans. The Titans do not look good, so that's another 2 wins. So that you have 4 wins now. You split one with the Jaguars. That's a 3rd win. Like, they could really get up there. That's already 5 wins, and that's not including potential upsets that they could pull against, like, a team like the Raiders or the Cardinals. Even the 49ers. Like, it's late in the year that they're playing them. They're playing them in December, but who knows what's going to be the status of Brock Purdy right now. I mean, Mac Jones looked somehow not bad, and I was...
Yeah, it was the Saints.
Yeah, that's what I want to say, and that's what a lot of Patriots fans have been saying. But I will say that I do think that the Patriots didn't do any good service for Mac Jones. I don't think we put a good team around him in any sense. But I think we did need to move on, especially with, like, a new regime coming in. And so, any case, though, that's my take on that. Ralph, is there any other games you want to highlight? I mean, there's some exciting games. I mean, the Texans game was pretty exciting to watch. I'm trying to think of any other games. But is there anything that really kind of stood out to you this past week?
Nothing at the top of my mind outside of the fact that the Green Bay Packers are going to be a force to be reckoned with, and how it still makes no sense on why. I get it. The Packers probably gave the best package to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons, but for a team you've lost the Packers in numerous postseasons over the past decade, trade him out of the conference. Trade him to an AFC team. You might get a little less, but just get him out of the conference. Trading Micah Parsons to the Packers has unlocked a new gear for the Packers and a new ceiling for them, where I had them in that 5 to 7 seed range, and they've essentially just vaulted themselves higher than that, or at least vaulted themselves in where they originally, in my mind, potentially can win, create a little bit of chaos, win the wildcard game, probably lose the divisional. To this team, I would not be surprised if they were representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year. The Packers have looked really good. Jordan Love has looked really solid. The offense has been clicking. The wide receivers have been really solid around Jordan Love this year. And I don't see why anyone should be sleeping on the Packers at this point. I would not be surprised if the Packers won the NFC North. I really wouldn't. And I wouldn't be shocked if they were the best team in the NFC. by the end of the year. I know it's a little bit of an overreaction. It's only been 2 weeks, but they looked really good versus the Lions in week 1, and they looked really good versus another team that made the playoffs last year. Actually made it to the NFC Championship game last year in the Washington Commanders. So
Yeah.
I really am. If I'm another team in the NFC North or just in general the NFC, I am not looking forward to the Packers, and I am just for the most part just really annoyed with Jerry Jones. Why would you do this to everyone else in the NFC? Because they've created an absolute wrecking ball and an absolute force.
Yeah, and speaking of the Cowboys, I mean, it was a good win against the Giants, and I think if I'm a Giants fan, yes, I lost. Yes, the team lost, but I'm almost happy based off what I just saw. Similar to what the Jets had last week, where the Jets lost, of course, the Steelers, but Justin Fields actually looked good, and then you play the Buffalo Bills, and I feel like it's the Buffalo Bills. But if I'm a Giants fan, right, I'm pretty happy. I mean, Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards. Scadaboo looks absolutely amazing, and he had 4.1 yards per carry on average. I feel like you found your kind of replacement for Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, because those guys, I feel like they're mediocre. I feel like they're good RB2s, but not really good RB1. I think Scadaboo kind of provides something different for this team, kind of a wrecking ball of a force. And, hey, Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, all look great. Even Darius Swain had 60 yards receiving. If I'm a Giants fan, I'm pretty happy with what I saw.
Don't even get me started on Devin Singletary. Don't even. He was. I went him and Zamir White, I believe, back-to-back rounds last year in fantasy.
Yeah.
That was that was so. Devin Singletary. I don't even want to say his name anymore. Thankfully, I had Bijan Robinson and Kamara, 2 out of my first 4 picks, and I took Hubbard.
Same here.
And
same here.
I took Hubbard and Brown near the end of my draft. And both of them were great too. So thankfully, I had 4 really solid running backs. Yeah. But
I just picked up Nick Chubb too, like a few weeks ago.
If anyone, the trend where it's like I could eat, and like some random like person that their grandfather knew back in school. Someone's gonna do that to me one day when I'm like 70 years old, and they're gonna be like, "Oh man, I could eat a Zamir White or Devin Singletary," and I'm just gonna have like war flashbacks to that one year where I took them in fantasy. Just like, why did I do that? But anyways, I think for the Giants, I think you feel a lot better if this was Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Jackson Dart get a little bit of action. If the Giants are a 3-win team in week 12, 13, I think you should throw Jackson Dart and see what you got in him and give him a chance to prove himself. For me personally, I know it looks good that they had a competitive game versus the Cowboys and Russell Wilson looked good, but Russell Wilson's just going to be here for a year. I don't expect him to be on the team next year. I would like to see Jackson Dart. I think it's good right now to have a guy like Russell Wilson, but at the same time, I'd like to see Jackson Dart, unless, I guess, the other good thing about this scenario unfolding is it gives Jackson Dart a year to learn the offense, get everything under
exactly
in the system, etc. So, honestly, I guess it's a good thing. I guess it's good because vibes. We'll go with the vibes reason. The San Jose Sharks last year, you want to have good vibes, and it's a moral victory, so I guess for everyone else, it's a decent win. So, I've kind of switched up within the last minute of talking this through, Davian. I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you for switching up, because I was about to say that I also think that he should be on the bench. I think he has great mentors in Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. I think that and until look, they play the Saints week 5, right? If they're blowing out the Saints by the time the third quarter rolls around, I'm putting Jackson Dart in, right? I want to see him get some action. But I feel like this offensive line doesn't, we saw what it was the week before, Raffi. It was scary. Russell Wilson was getting blown up. You don't want to do that to a guy like Jackson Dart. I feel like that you throw him in there, and if he doesn't look good, there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of media. It's New York City. You know how it is, Raffi. We've seen this happen to so many athletes. And I just feel that with Russell Wilson, you have something good going on. Even with Jameis Winston, you have a very good, backup there. So, I think I'm just going to play it out and then see, maybe by week 7 or week 8 when you're playing the Eagles, the Broncos or Eagles, yeah, then maybe I'm questioning whether you should play Jackson Dart.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll see what winds up happening. Any final thoughts though on any other games before we
Go Pats.
close this one out?
Go Pats. Go Falcons. I just got autographed. I just bought an autographed Chris Hogan signed jersey, where it says 2-time Super Bowl jersey, 2-time Super Bowl winner. I also got a Nikola Jokic signed autographed jersey, and I got Ryan Williams, Bama football signed poster. So I'm pretty happy about that. That's one thing I forgot to say at the beginning of the podcast, but yeah, I just wanted to update the viewers about my life.
Lovely, lovely. We do love to hear those updates, and I think that overall will do it for this edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. I will say, be on the lookout. We have a special edition podcast. Davian sits down with D3 rugby player Rachel Sharon, so that will be a good podcast that drops in due time as well, either as around the time of this podcast being published. So be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. That was a good podcast. Davian did a great job. Fortunately, I was not able to be on it, but Davian, you did a great job as a host
Raffi,
for a day.
Yeah,
so definitely check that one out. And then, as always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel as well. Some more hockey videos are also on the way too, so we'll start to see some more content on this.
And follow the TikTok too, Benchwarmer_sports. I've kind of taken over that side, so I'm going to be posting clips up there. I'm going to be posting my reactions and things like that, posting some of Raffi's shorts onto there, so definitely check that out as well.
Yep, 100%. So check us out on all those aforementioned stuff. And as always, have a good one, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.
Peace.